could ethically sell. And I thought, well, the word sales is getting in people's way. So let's reframe that word and replace it with serve. Don't be a salesperson, be a service person. It's like, no, you don't want to be sold. Like you and I talking, you wouldn't want me to try to sell you. I wouldn't want you to try to sell me. But hey, I love to buy. I'm sure you love to buy. There's stuff like I paid $3 for this can of water, man. I mean, it's crazy, but I like the logo. I like the whole deal about it, right? And we all love to buy. And if we're being served by a caring person, we love it when they serve us, and we want them to get paid. We want them to win too. So when I help entrepreneurs just reframe their thinking around sales, from sales to service, and obviously that's not just telling you that. There's a rewiring that needs to take place, right? People double, triple, quadruple, five-folded their business. Nothing else, just that. Now,
you're listening to the Focus on Customer Experience podcast. Benjamin Del Grosso gives you the ins and outs of one of the most underlooked aspects in business today. Improve your customer service and watch your business skyrocket.
2, 1.
Now, here's your host, Benjamin Del Grosso.
Hello and welcome to the show. Today we got Nicky on the show. He is the #1 international best-selling author of the book Finish Line Thinking: How to Think and Win Like a Champion, The Thought Leader's Journey, A Fable of Life and the Power of Connecting, How to Activate Profitable Relationships by Serving Your Network. He has interviewed some very impressive people like Barbara Corcoran from Shark Tank, John Maxwell. He's one of the world's leading best authors. I've even read some of his books and many more. So, Nicky, welcome to the show.
Hey, Ben, brother, thanks for having me on the show. It's an honor to be here, man. God bless you. Happy New Year. Always great to be with a fellow Canadian.
Yes, Happy New Year. So, Nicky, let's get right into the meat and potatoes. Tell me your backstory.
I appreciate the question, brother. I'm actually originally an immigrant from the Middle East. I'm a Christian from Iran. And when I was 11 years old, the Islamic Revolution happened in Iran, which overthrew the relatively benign dictatorship of the Shah of Iran and replaced it with the not so benign tyranny of the mullahs. And my late father, God rest his soul, he could see the writing on the wall that for a Christian family, for a non-Muslim family, living in Iran was not going to be a great thing. He did not want to raise his family there. So Dad made a plan, and he got us out of Iran, and we eventually settled in Toronto. And, I honor my dad. And I thank God that I was his son. He passed away February 23rd, 2020, just a month before all this lockdown nonsense really hit us. But Dad changed the legacy of our family. He changed the trajectory of where we live, what we do, and we live in freedom because of Dad. I'm a champion for freedom, for free expression and free enterprise, Ben. And it's because I get to experience it here in Canada. Now, there's a lot of people born here in this country that don't understand or appreciate how good we have it. But for someone who grew up in tyranny, trust me, I am very grateful to get to live in a relatively free country. And I know it's fashionable among some folks, especially our idiot of a prime minister, to say, oh my God, Canada, what an oppressive place. There's so many racists and sexists, and he uses it as a wedge to pull us apart. What an idiot he is. But here's the truth. If you want to experience real oppression, let me take you to Iran for a while, Mr. Prime Minister, and all the idiots who believe in what he believes. And you'll understand real oppression. Back home in Iran, there's been 143 straight days of protests against the government because they took a young woman, 22 years old, Mahsa Amini, and she was outdoors with her hair partially uncovered. That's a crime in Iran. To be a woman walking around while a woman with your hair uncovered is a crime. You think about that. And they beat her to death for this. And the people of Iran have shown some real guts, balls, if you will, and fought against this. And the folks that have really led the charge have been the teenage girls and the young women. We're talking 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19-year-old girls, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24-year-old young women. They're leading the charge. I'm so proud of the lionesses of Iran and their stand for freedom, brother. And my dad, he believed in freedom. He was an entrepreneur, you know. This is the kind of man, Ben, if he knew you and you were looking for work, he would get you a job. He'd work the phones until he got you a job. If you're trying to start a business, you know, if you're trying to start your dash cam business in Iran, dad would help you out. He'd bring you advisors. He'd even get you capital. Even if you were going to compete with him in his business, he had an abundance mentality. So he didn't really see things as competition. He just wanted to help people. That's the kind of man he was. And if you worked for him and you were trying to buy a car or a house or an apartment and you didn't have enough money, he would top you up so you could buy that car, that house, or that apartment. I mean, I was honored, you know, looking back, to have such a man as a father. And, you know, a lot of people who knew him, they sometimes, you know, these years after his death, even, you know, they call me and they go, Nicky, man, your father, he did this for me, he did that for me. He's the greatest man I ever knew, you know, and I wanted to be like him. I wanted to serve people and help people like he did. I saw how much joy it gave him, how much of a bigger human being it made him, how him given to the world had God give to him. You know what I mean? And it was really powerful to see that. And I wanted to be just like that, man. I wanted to help people. So I got into business, and eventually, you know, what I did was I always was in the helping businesses. So I was a top level fitness coach for a while. I worked with Olympic gold medalists like Donovan Bailey, the great Donovan Bailey, you know, Mark McCoy. And I worked with CEOs. I helped them get in shape. And it was all about helping people. It was all about serving people. And then I got into the business of helping entrepreneurs. And you know what I saw, man? There's a lot of folks who are entrepreneurs who are good at what they do, right? Like good dash cam guys, but not good business people. Like, you know, to put a technical term to it, they sucked at business, right? But I didn't. I mean, my dad, I came from a business family. I knew all about business. I knew all the things that made for a successful business. And I also studied business in school. I got my Bachelor of Commerce at the University of Toronto, and I got my Master's in International Business at Georgetown University in Washington, D.C. You know, and I did well in school, and I'm a smart guy and all that jazz. But I saw a lot of entrepreneurs that don't understand marketing and sales. They don't understand balance sheets, income statements, cash flow statements. They don't understand hiring and firing. They don't understand customer service. They don't understand systems and structures and processes. They just don't get it, right? They're good at what they do. They know how to get dash cams and install them well. That's it, right?
That's 100%, man.
Yeah, so I saw this, and especially with sales and marketing, right? A lot of people are scared to sell. They're like, selling just gives them like this. Oh my God, I don't want to come across like a pushy, like I got commission breath, like that, right? So, you know, and for me, I just like, I got to help these people like get out of their own way, because they're killing themselves here with all this, right? Because if you don't sell, right, it hurts you because you don't make money that you should be making. It hurts your family, right? Obviously, it also hurts the people you could be helping, because if you're a good person, you should be getting that business. These people need you. They don't need some charlatan marketer to come and scoop in and get the business, because those guys don't have any compunctions about saying whatever they have to get the business. They need to be somebody that really honestly could ethically sell. And I thought, well, the word sales is getting in people's way, so let's reframe that word and replace it with serve. Don't be a salesperson, be a service person. It's like, no, you don't want to be sold. Like you and I talking, you wouldn't want me to try to sell you. I wouldn't want you to try to sell me. But hey, I love to buy. I'm sure you love to buy. There's stuff like I paid $3 for this can of water, man. I mean, it's crazy, but you know, I like the logo. I like the whole deal about it, right? And you know, we all love to buy, and if we're being served by a caring person, we love it when they serve us, and we want them to get paid. We want them to win too. So when I help entrepreneurs just reframe their thinking around sales, from sales to service, and obviously that's not just telling you that, there's a rewiring that needs to take place, right? People double, triple, quadruple, five-folded their business. Nothing else, just that. Now, once we teach them about how to stand out with their marketing, you know, so they don't sound like everybody else. Once we teach them a thing or two about getting their finances in order, and you know, that's not my thing, but I've got people I send people to help them understand how to get their numbers in order. Once we show people a little bit about customer service, hiring, firing, like a business can explode. A business can go up tenfold, 100-fold once it's being run like a business. You know what I mean? And that's what I believe is important for everybody, whether you're a solopreneur or a person with 10,000 people in your company.
Yeah, man, this is a lot of information you packed in there. So one thing for sure, and I talk about this quite a bit on the podcast or with friends, is a lot of people will start a business because they're a good technician, right? I'm a really good plumber, and I see all this money the owner's making. I'm going to start my own business because I know how to plumb. But they don't know how to run a business. They don't know how to run the books. They don't know how to get the business. They don't know how to network. They don't know how to, you know, do things within the community so they're known. And it's interesting how many people start a business. And that's why I think so many entrepreneurs, you know, I think the last numbers that I was hearing was something like 90% of businesses fail within the first year. Like, it's huge. Right?
Within 5 years, actually. Within 5 years, 90% of businesses.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. I mean, I'm a little over 2.5 years now in my business, and believe me, the first year I almost quit like 20 times, and I have more experience than the majority of people because I'm not just a technician. I've been a regional manager, I've been a store manager, I've ran the books, I've done all of it. But the challenges, right? Because so many people think you're going to go and whatever you made at your other job before you started your business, they think, oh, I'm going to be able to give myself that same paycheck. No, good luck, man. You're not even going to pay yourself for the first year or so. You are all in. And we talked about Andy Frisella off the counter, off camera. And if you've heard his story, he didn't even pay himself for the first 5 years.
10 years,
like a penny. Yeah. Right. Like
not one penny.
So, I mean, it's a big investment moving forward. And, you know, you also were talking about, so freedom. So why is freedom important, and why does free enterprise matter?
Well, I'll answer that. But before I do that, the point you're talking about, technician, that's out of Michael Gerber's work on the E-Myth, right? He talks about
that's a good
the
book.
Entrepreneurial seizure that a lot of people have. They go into business and you're a technician. In fact, he uses that word technician in his most famous book is the E-Myth Revisited. He's written a whole bunch of versions of the E-Myth. And I think if you're listening to this podcast and you're in business, you ought to read the E-Myth. It's an important book. But to me, being in business, you know, my father used to say, business is not about money, it's about people. Life is not about money, it's about people. One of my mentors would say, business isn't about numbers, it's about people, right? Everybody that is in front of you as a customer, that's someone's father, that's someone's brother, that's someone's son, that's someone's husband, that's someone's wife, that's someone's mother, that's someone's daughter, that's someone's sister. That's a human being with hopes, dreams, with fears. They've probably been, you know, disappointed by life. Maybe they even got disappointed by some businessman or businesswoman just like you who made them all kinds of big promises and didn't deliver shit, right? So you got to understand that first and foremost, and come from service, come from love, come from caring. And the philosophy has to be a human philosophy of helping your fellow man, helping your fellow woman, right? And that's only possible in the context of freedom for you to be able to dream and create a vision for yourself, freedom for you to be able to express that and not have idiots like our prime minister try to pass stupid laws to take away our freedom of expression and make us afraid to speak up, speak the truth. You're free enterprise so that you can actually create a business and voluntarily be able to engage in business, because that's what free enterprise is. Socialism or fascism, as Justin Trudeau is practicing in Canada, because he really is a fascist more than anything else, is all about the government, allows businesses to exist, but then they tell businesses what to do and take money away from them. So we need to stand up against that. Good men and women in Canada fought, bled, and died, mostly men, but some women too, so that you and I could be free to live our life as we choose, to express ourselves, freely, to be able to choose our own career path, start our own business without undue interference from government figures. So if we don't all stand for this, if all we go is, I don't want to think, I don't want to be involved in philosophy or politics, that's nice, but I'm sorry, philosophy and politics want to be involved with you. You don't have a choice, really. And as a business person, you need to be standing up for the businesses that share these values, share the values of freedom, share the values of free expression, share the values of free enterprise. You can't be supporting these woke type organizations that are trying to silence us. You can't. You got to support the organizations that believe in freedom. Anybody that is trying to force a point of view down your throat is not your friend, and is not the friend of you growing a business or a vision that will allow you to support your family and allow you to have a society that will outlive you. Because you and I could experience freedom in our lifetime, but if we let this happen, our children won't be free. Ronald Reagan has this brilliant quote, which goes something like this: freedom, right, is never more than one generation away from extinction. It's not passed on through the bloodstream. It must be fought for, nurtured, and taught to the next generation. Because otherwise, we'll grow old and we'll say, I remember when in Canada, men were once free, and women were once free. You understand what I'm trying to say here? That's why it's very important for everyone listening to this show. If you're an entrepreneur, if you're a businessman, a businesswoman, you can't just be all about your business. You also need to support the society that makes your business possible. And that means you got to take a bold stand for freedom, and you got to take a stand to shut up those that are trying to take our freedoms away from us right now.
Yeah, and would you recommend supporting a lot of the local businesses that are supporting your community as well, instead of the bigger corporations? Is that something that you also recommend?
Well, if the local businesses are of that mind, absolutely. But there's some local businesses that are absolutely crazy loco, and so I wouldn't recommend supporting them.
Which is very true.
I mean, you gotta be discerning. I don't think a company's good just because it's local, and bad just because it's a multinational. You've got to look at every situation individually. There's a lot of great businesses in my neighborhood in Toronto, which I support, right? But I also, support other companies too that are not in my neighborhood. Right.
Very true.
Okay. Amen. Forget about it. So, I think that's a good question. I'd like to draw a distinction between an expert and a thought leader, because I think that's the best way to really explain thought leadership. And one of the folks whose work I follow, and in fact, I've incorporated some of his ideas into my own work, is a guy by the name of Matt Church. He's from Australia. And he puts it like this. He says an expert is someone who knows something, right? Experts are a dime a dozen, because lots of people know something, right? But a thought leader is someone who's known for knowing something. You get the distinction between those two, Ben?
Oh,
and
yeah.
Another way to put it, and this was from a guest on my podcast by the name of David Meerman Scott. He's an advisor to Anthony Robbins, right? Like, this dude's he's a big deal, David. He said, an expert is like a cover band, but a thought leader creates and plays original music. Right? And so there's a lot of people who are experts. There's a lot of good people that know a lot of stuff, but nobody knows or understands how they help. So business, what is business all about? Remember what my dad said? Business is about people, not money. Remember that?
Yeah.
Business essentially is about solving problems for people for profit, right? It's about solving acute problems for amazing people for an awesome profit. AP. Nicky Billou's 7-figure AP solutions, right? AP cubed solutions, I should say. And I teach this to people because when you understand that that is your job in business, is you're solving problems, you're a problem solver in business, then you're at a stage where, you know, you can take that understanding and turn it into thought leadership. Now, why should you care about being a thought leader? Well, let me tell you why you should care. Because when you're a thought leader, whether you're like a coach or a consultant or that kind of solopreneur, or whether you're the founder of your own company, right? Whether you are an employee at a company, when you're a thought leader, bro, people see you as that go-to authority, okay? And they will want you, they will seek you out and they'll want to do business with you. So let me give you a couple of really great examples. So let's talk about Andy Frisella, since you know who he is, right? And you're part of his Arate syndicate program. Now, Andy's the CEO of a company called First Form. But I'm going to tell you right now, Andy's a thought leader. Now, there's another supplements company, Canadian company called Genestra. Okay. You ever heard of Genestra before?
Nope.
Do you know who they are? No. Now, I can tell you, Genestra is a good company that makes good products. Okay. Probably even better than First Form's products, with all respect to Andy. I don't know 100%, but Genestra is like top shelf. But Genestra, man, First Form outsells Genestra something like 50-1. Why? Because Andy Frisella is a thought leader. He's got himself a brand. He speaks about entrepreneurship. He speaks about social issues that are important. He speaks about winning. And all of this has gotten people to come and buy First Form products. When you're a thought leader as a CEO, people want to buy your products more. People want to work for your company more, and investors want to invest money in your company. So I'll give you another distinction between an expert and a thought leader. So have you heard of an entrepreneur by the name of Steve Jobs?
Oh, yeah.
Which company did Steve Jobs found?
Apple.
Right. Did you know in 1998, there was another company called Dell Computer, a competitor to Apple? Did you know about Dell Computer? You heard of those guys?
Yep.
Did you know in 1998, they roughly had the same amount of revenue and market cap? Roughly. I think it was just under 10 billion a year they were selling, both companies. Now, do you know who the CEO of Dell is?
No idea. No
His
clue
name
in the
is,
world.
right. His name is Michael Dell, by the way. Okay. Now today, Dell sells about 83 billion a year. Okay. Respectable growth. Would you agree? From just under 10 billion to 83 billion, good growth, right?
Oh, yeah.
How much do you think Apple sells a year right now?
They're in like the trillions or something
No,
ridiculous
they're
like
not in the
that.
trillions.
They're definitely, well, sorry, the
No, they're
trillion,
not
I
in the
guess, is
trillions.
that's their market
Market
valuation.
cap. Yeah, yeah.
Sorry, that
Right.
was, yeah.
Yeah. But how much do you think they sell a year?
Oh, half a billion, 500 billion or something ridiculous like that.
Not quite 500 billion, but just over 300 billion.
It's a lot.
Right. So both around the same size. One's at 83 billion, respectable, very good growth. The other's at over 300 billion. Why? Because Steve Jobs deliberately cultivated a founder, thought leader brand for himself. You know who Steve Jobs is. You know what he's all about. He died in 2011. That brand that he created is so strongly tied to Apple. Most people don't know who Apple's CEO today is. His name's Tim Cook, by the way, in case you don't know who it is. But Steve Jobs propelled Apple forward with that brand he created. 12 years after his death, it's still going incredibly strong. You with me?
Oh, yeah.
And why do people buy Apple? Because Steve Jobs created a brand that if you are a visionary, you're a dreamer, you're a thinker, you want Apple. Apple is for those cool ass people. And that's still stuck. People want to work for Apple. They get 5,000 resumes for every open job. All right. Think about that. And it is the most valuable company in the world. Now, Dell Computer is also publicly traded. I can assure you, it is not even 1/10 as valuable as Apple. You understand what I'm saying?
Yep.
So, as an example, if you're listening to the show and you're a CEO, you're a coach or a consultant, or you're an employee, and you're thinking, well, why should I care about being a thought leader? Aren't those ivory tower professors? No, they're not. They're people who've developed independent thinking about things they're passionate about. And they've turned that and had it be all about solving problems for people they care about helping. So let's imagine we're talking about Ben Del Grosso, okay? Fan of the Azul, right? And let's say we wanted to create your thought leader brand. We wanted you to be the Steve Jobs, the Andy Frisella, the Elon Musk, the Patrick Bet-David of valuetainment of your space. How would we do that? So first of all, you'd need to tell me you're willing to invest at least bare minimum a year in building your initial brand, and 3 to 5 years in having it go out. You follow what I'm saying? This is a long game, not a short game. You can't come to me and go, Nicky, make me a thought leader, thanks, for $50. Now, it ain't going to work, right? But I would sit with you and I would try to understand and walk you through exercises or have you do our program. You know what I'm saying? Depending on, one-on-one or whatever. I prefer that you be part of the program because you'll learn from the other smart people in the room. But I would have you go, okay, what is my expertise really? Because it ain't selling dash cams. You know what I mean? Dash cams just happens to be the business you're in. You follow what I'm saying? Your expertise is deeper. You're probably some sort of problem solver, some sort of creative person, some sort of person that has the ability to build systems, processes. And I'm coming off the top of my head here, but we would get deep into what your expertise is. Just like Andy, right? Andy makes supplements, but that's not what he's known for. He's known for like being the dude who has the winning mindset, right? So we would create some around those lines for you. And we don't want to copy someone else, because copying other people, write this down if you're listening to this. Don't be a copycat, second-rate version of someone else. Be a first-rate original version of you. That's what thought leadership is. And when we get that sorted out, then we help you put it out there in the form of, podcast videos and a book. And you put that out there messaging wise, then the folks that you want to listen to you are going to be listening to you, and they're going to go, damn, Ben Del Grosso, he's the shit, this dude. And more of them are going to do business with you. More of them are going to want to invest in your company. More of them are going to want to work for you. Does that make sense, bro? Does that land? So
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
going to
man.
give you an example of someone I worked with who was just a solopreneur. He was a health coach. He's a young man, and his name was Dan. And, Dan was a good fellow. You know what I mean? Good dude. If you had a sister, you'd want your sister to date Dan. That's how good a dude he was. You know what I'm saying? And, but Dan was a crappy businessman, dude. Sucked as a businessman, like just brutal. He had like 7 clients. He made $1,200 a month living in Toronto. Toronto, Vancouver, expensive cities, that kind of money just ain't going to cut it, right? So, when I met Dan, I'm like, hey, Danny, tell me a little bit about you, your business. I know you're struggling. Let's try to help you out. I said, okay, you're a health coach. So tell me a bit. What do you do? Who do you help exactly? And he's like, Nicky, I can help anybody. I can do anything. I'm like, buddy, no. We got to narrow your focus a little bit. No, but really, I can help you lose weight. I can help you get stronger, put on muscle. I can help you even win competitions. I'm like, no, Dan, we got to narrow this focus. Like, it doesn't work to try to be all things to all people, buddy. It just doesn't work. And he's like, okay. He says, you know what? I got it. My dad's a doctor. I love my dad. I'm like, okay, promising start. He goes, also, doctors make a lot of money. I'm like, no, buddy, no. Nobody wants to hear about how doctors make a lot of money. No, I'm doing it. Didn't work. He tried it. Didn't work. Danny, we got to change this. Okay. Maybe I should narrow my niche. I'm like, all right. Cardiologist. Right. Well, they make more money than doctors. I'm like, oh my God, buddy, you're not getting it. This is not the way. No, I'm doing it. Get it. No response. Then I talked to him again. I go, Danny, this ain't working. He goes, yeah. And then through the grace of God and serendipity, he was introduced to a Paralympic athlete who had a missing leg since childhood accident, right? And this Paralympic athlete and him, they hit it off. He got this guy in terrific shape, and he won some medals at a competition. And then Danny comes to me all sheepish and goes, oh God, Nicky, I finally get what you've been trying to teach me. I've been going after the money, haven't I? I go, yeah, you have, dumb. Rhymes with buck, right?
Oh, man.
And then he said, yeah, I need to be going after like really helping people. I go, yeah, you do. He says, I want to help people with missing limbs. He says, I know what their problem is. I'm like, okay, that sounds good, Danny. Go do that. So, brother, remember he's making $1,200 a month, 7 clients. In 6 weeks with this new approach, he signed up 400 clients. 400 clients. Solopreneur, fitness coach. He couldn't work with people one-on-one anymore. He had to create group programs, right? Because, one-on-one, 400 people ain't going to happen for one guy. Just it ain't happening. Right? So, and bro, he added not just 1 0 to his income, but 2 zeros to his income. 2 zeros. Like, you think about that. He made over $100,000 a month as a solo fitness coach. Fitness coaches, I'm sure you know a couple, they don't make that kind of money, bro. They just don't. But Danny did. And he did because he stopped focusing on the money and he started focusing on helping the people. And we narrowed his focus. We narrowed his messaging. You understand this is thought leadership, right? He became a thought leader in working with people with missing limbs and helping them optimize their strength, their health, their fitness. But it was more than that, because it wasn't just that. Because imagine someone with a missing limb, right? Put yourself in their shoes. They probably would prefer to have all their limbs. Would you agree with that? Someone with a missing limb would prefer to have all their limbs? But would you also agree that they probably have at least some level of limiting belief around what's possible for them physically, at least, because of not having all their limbs? Would you agree with that, right? Some level. Danny's message was, balderdash. You can do anything anybody else can do, and I'm going to make you a beast of a warrior, physical beast, so you can do it. Can you imagine hearing that message, how that would land for that person? Can you imagine how that would open up their soul, their heart, their love for themselves, for the world. Now you know why he signed up 400 clients in 6 weeks and made 100 grand a month.
He went from chasing the money to serving people. That's exactly it. I went for, and I can tell you this 100%. I had a job, and all I was picturing was how much money I could make. And guess what? That job didn't work out. All I was fixated on was the money.
Yeah, I've been there too, bro.
Right? That's, you know what? You got to realize that. And to kind of touch on one other thing you were talking about is being your own original self and being authentic, right? And a lot of stuff that I do, which it may sound bad at first when I say it, is I R&D, rip off and duplicate. So what I do a lot of times is I don't try and be somebody else, but when I look at things that other people are doing in business, I like to rip off and duplicate that. And then within 90 days, I find a way to make it my own and to harness that, because I already see somebody else doing something in business that is working well. So how do I take that and make it my own and put my own spin on it? And even with even with YouTube, I see things like people are doing that work. How can I find a way to make it my own and make it my brand? Right. So yeah, no, it's awesome. You're giving lots of really good information here.
I want to say, okay, there's a difference between just branding and being an original thinker. I think for the strategies and tactics of your business, it's very smart to R&D, but do not outsource your thinking. Do not outsource your ideas. Do not rip off someone else's ideas. Yeah, you can see a guy who does something on YouTube and you go, okay, I'm going to do the same thing and then I'm going to put my spin on that. There's nothing wrong with that. But the ideas, for example, like don't try to be Andy Frisella. Don't try to be Steve Jobs. Be Benjamin Del Grosso, because you've got a uniqueness about you and you've got a uniqueness in the things that you believe are important, that if you give expression to that will be far more attractive than you trying to be a second-rate version of Andy Frisella or Steve Jobs.
Yeah, man. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I know we're coming near the end of the time here, so I really appreciate you coming on the show. Do you have any final words of wisdom or how people would get in touch with someone like you, Nicky?
So look, if you're a business owner and you are intrigued by what we talked about, and in particular, if like 2023, you know, you're determined that it'd be different than 2022, especially if 2022 you didn't quite hit your targets, maybe you missed them by a country mile. I want to encourage you to get on my calendar. I do something called a success coaching call, where I offer this free of charge. We sit down and we have a conversation together, you know, all about your business, what your goals are for this upcoming year. And let's take a look at maybe what isn't even working the way you want it to be working or you need it to be working. And I'm going to give you a blueprint for what you got to do to win. And, you know, there was a time where I used to charge $1,000 for these sessions, and I offer them for free now. 2 reasons I offer them for free. Number one is I believe, you know, it's important as a business owner to grow my network and get to know new people that are in business. So, you know, this is one way that I do that in a very effective and powerful way. And 2 is I want to be of service to people. I want to help people. I want to give to people. And I know that some of the people that I talk to, it's going to be obvious that we ought to do some work together. So this is how I grow my business. So please take advantage of that. You can do that by going to my website, ecircleacademy.com/appointment. That's ecircleacademy.com/appointment. And if Ben, you're kind enough to put that in the show notes, that'd be great.
Oh, I will for sure, man. This was great. You're a great speaker. You did a great job addressing everybody. I honestly didn't say a whole lot. I just let you speak. That was awesome. I appreciate your time. Thanks for coming on the show, man.
Yeah, it's an honor, man. It really is. Thank you. God bless you.